All right, we might have a disaster on our hands before we even start. So, yeah, it's... Healer's fault, right? Type in your comments now. Holla ballers, welcome back to the TDP. Oh, God, it's freehold. Oh, my God. All right, we might have a disaster on our hands before we even start, which is great news because the opening trash to here, the last time I was here healing this, is actually a complete fucking nightmare. A Dis wasn't great, but we are in our Dis Priest, as always, with TDPs that take place on our friend the Alpha. It is... Oh, God. I'm already dreading this. This place is a nightmare. We pick in classes because they are kind of... the BfA specs aren't quite finished and all that. We're looking at specs that have got something interesting going on, and you probably noticed something already. Spammable shield is back. Mwahaha! Oh, yes, indeed. The spammable shield is back. Now, if you haven't watched the Legacy of the Priest, what are you doing here? Go and watch that video. It's really good. That I made. Hey, you might know what this means. This can go one of two ways, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we had. Oh, that wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad. Potentially, I haven't healed this as Dis, but I've been in here with Dis Priest. It's been really bad. So, who knows? What they've done, let's tell you what they've done. So, if you're not up to speed on the Dis Priest in any way, which is fine, I don't expect everybody to be, then you may have thought that Powered Shield was still spammable. It's not. In Legion, it is not. They took that away because spammable Powered Shield can cause a lot of problems, friends. Yes, it can. A spammable Powered Shield with enough gear and stuff tends to be incredibly overpowered. And that's because it does something not many other heals do, and that is absorb damage, which means that it can't be sniped or anything. Once it's on there, and that when that person takes damage, we're all in for a bad old time. You are taking a hell of a lot of damage, friend, and I would appreciate it if not. Let's cleanse that disease off. Everybody's pulling all the things. That's good. Let's Rapture again. I'm going to talk more about it, but this is the worst part of this dungeon for healing, so bear with me a little bit here. As it snipes heals, it becomes very powerful. So it made Dis Priest kind of mandatory all the way up through Waterlords of Draenor, from about Wrath of the Lich King onwards. And a lot of healers didn't like it because... Are we pulling even more things? Bruh. Let's use our new shield. Woo! I'll talk about that in a second. That's our new shield. I'm not actually getting any heals out here because I'm just trying to micromanage. Let's get some purges out. Help out our boys. Move away from that. I'm not the best Dis healer by any means, but I certainly missed certain things like Light's Wrath, which is currently gone in Legion, which gave us that big overall heal. You can see I'm kind of running out of mana here. You'll also notice I'm not using Powered Radiance that much. Let me get into somewhere safe and say mana. Okay, so they've decided, as of a couple of days... Yeah, well, sorry. Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about it, dude. I got this. It's fine. Okay, go. They decided to get rid of Plea. So, Plea, if you're not familiar again, was a spell that just applied Atonement. So you might be aware that Dis Priests heal by dealing damage. And what they have to do is put this buff on people called Atonement. And you have various ways of doing that. So Powered Radiance, if I cast it now, you'll watch. Everybody gets it. You see that little buff there? Atonement. That means that when I DPS, those guys will get a portion of that DPS as some healing, right? Very cool. Powered Shield had a little cooldown associated to it. Made it kind of nice, honestly, because you had to think about who's deserving, because it wasn't always the tank by any means. Some old school Dis Priests would always cast it on the tank, but that was kind of a mistake. In recent days, they have, in fact, changed it back so Powered Shield no longer has a cooldown. And they have removed Plea. So they decided that Plea, kind of a dogshit spell, didn't do much healing, just basically was a way of putting out Atonement. That's all it did, was give Atonement to singular people. And that's not that fun, because things that also did that were Shadow Mend, which is what, like this, I cast Shadow Mend on myself. Not an instant heal, but it's kind of like your flash heal, essentially. It's like your more expensive heal. And Powered Radiance did it on multiple targets. And Power Word Shield, even with its cooldown, still gave this atonement buff. So Plea was in this kind of shitty space, which I think is fair to say. Most people would agree with that. You didn't get it. There you go. Have a Power Word Shield, friend. Now, what they've done is got rid of Plea and said, please, crap, we get it. So we're just going to give you Power Word Shield back as a spammable spell. But we don't want it to become overpowered. At least I don't know. We're not in the realms of class balancing yet by any means. We're not there. So what they seem to be trying to do is make Power Word Shield pretty crappy, right? It's not great. It provides a bit of an absorb, and it does like 2k, like 9. I think it's like 1700 absorb, right? And people, I have like 16k HP. Tanks have about 20k in the current gear, but remember, this is almost like leveling gear essentially for most people. This isn't good gear, so not great at all. Not great at all. And they're toying with what's going on. We got Achieve, I think. Yeah, I'm in charge now. Defeat summoning and defeating patches on mythic difficulty. Sure, okay, whatever. Whatever you say, Blizz. We're doing the mythic dungeons now, boys. Don't worry about it. Now, the risk is, of course... Oh, God. Fuck off. The risk is, of course, that Power Word Shield is either going to be so shit that when it comes to, like, serious healing, you don't really want to cast it because it's just not doing enough. For the time it takes you to cast it, which is 1 global cooldown, a big topic recently, it's just not worthwhile. You might as well do something else. Not that there is much else to do anyway for a single target healing, but you get the idea. Or it's going to become too good, in which case you're going to go back to what we had in WoD. I think I have to reload UI for this. What we had in WoD, what we had in MOP, and what we had in Wrath, which is basically a guy in your raid who just stood there spamming shield on everybody, blanketing the whole raid as it was, in order to take advantage of this ridiculously efficient heal, because it is super efficient if it's being used. Now, raises a number of questions. One, do we want to go back to that? Depends. Some people only played this because it was relatively simple, because your idea was that you blanketed the raid. Let's fade, because we just got patrolled into. There's even more coming. Okay, let's pain suppression our tank here. It either becomes too good, but some people like that. Like, I don't have a problem. As much, contrary as some people seem to exaggerate every word I say, I have no problem with easy to play specs. I personally find them boring. Is that a crime? Am I guilty? And some of you are already typing, fuck yeah, it is, you guilty motherfucker. You guys. I don't have a problem with it. As long as they're all relatively balanced and they're not like to the point where it's like one button and somebody else has to do like 50 buttons to get the same output. I'm fine with slightly easier to play specs, man. Not everybody's going to be the gold standard in gaming, right? Let's face facts, that ain't going to happen. So having some stuff that's a little simpler is fine. So if we do go back to that, and I kind of foresee if this change stays, that yeah, it's going to be like that. It's likely to be the case, unless they could cripple this spell completely, that playstyle returns. What does it mean for the guys who absolutely adored Legion Dis, like I did? I adored Legion Dis. It's a little simpler to play, for sure. So they've changed a few things around. So for the experienced Dispriest, you might think to yourself, well, what about Rapture? What about Rapture? So in Legion, Rapture, which is this cooldown down here, allowed it so you could spam shield. And your shield's pretty decent. It's a very decent little cooldown. Oh, well, that sucks. Allowed it so you could spam your shield. Well, obviously we can do that as baseline now, but the cooldown remains. So what does it do? It just makes them twice as effective, and it's also a very short cooldown. It's one and a half minutes. So that very short cooldown means you can use it very regularly, much the same way Paladins have very short cooldowns that they can use. Dis kind of has that as well, and I played Dis most of the day. I've been goofing around with it. And honestly, it comes in so handy having this readily available short cooldown. Similar with Mindbender, is you have this nice regular short cooldown. We're not doing this right. We're going to do... This is going to be the hard mode of the boss. It's kind of interesting. There's actually a thing here where you can catch a slippery pig or a slippery dog or something like that. I think it's the dog. And if you follow the dog around, you actually get a key to release somebody. You get one less boss coming up here. I know you guys can't see it properly because of the build drop beer we've all been... assigned here. Oh, it is disabled. Yeah, never mind. They must have changed it. I'll have to look into that later because they've changed this. What you'll notice is I'm not blanketing the group. No, it becomes very apparent, similar to now. Similar to Legion with this, is you're still using shield to apply atonement, and not everybody needs it. Oh, this thing's... They have nerfed the living shit out of that. Oh, baby. Oh, is it because we can't attack her, Captain Eudora? That ability that Captain Eudora did, this little Vulpera captain, was outrageously powerful. What is this? The Blackout Barrel. Is that what gets us drunk? Maybe. I want to stay away from that. Let's get our Mindbender going for some damage. You're still using it to apply atonements. So, yeah, it's... Healer's fault, right? Type in your comments now. Healer's fault. What a noob. What an absolute noob. I know, right? Sorry, guys. Druid's not even rezzing. He's like, fuck you, dude. I'm not rezzing you. So, it ain't that bad. In some ways, I'm kind of happy to see it back. Like... It's a little goofy. It is a little goofy, just being able to spam these bubbles, but... Plea just had no place, and they're right with that. Blizzard is correct. Plea had this really weird place that just felt shitty. It was like a waste of a global cooldown, because you're just wasting this global just to apply this debuff so you can then start doing something. Kind of ironic, given the cooldown changes we've had recently. But I think you guys would be interested... Oh, now we've rezzed. I thought you guys would be interested to see that they are toying with this. It doesn't mean it's going to stay, by any means. Nothing here means it's going to stay, but... They are toying with this. God, they've nerfed this boss so hard. I'm absolutely shocked. This boss was a murderous son of a bitch. Really interested to see what the last boss is like. What? Just despawns? We don't have the credit for killing the boss. Let's rebuff everybody. Yeah, it's okay. It's bugged. Apparently, it's bugged. I don't know. I haven't been here. Every dungeon I've done today, this bar 1 has been the new Kazan dungeon, the Motherlode, which I'm glad it's not because that just sucks. Oh, this one's kind of dull now. They've nerfed the crap out of it, but it's bugged, so maybe it's not that bad. We'll see. The last boss was kind of the pain in the ass in here. It seems like we're friends with all Vulpera. I really have to see what changes they've made, and maybe you guys can fill me in the comments. I'm going to have to come back here and actually work out what's happened, but judging here, you can see our build drop Padfoot is on our side as well. It looks like we've allied ourselves with Vulpera or satiated them or struck a deal or something. This is a pirate, as you can see by the pirate hat on our Ironside Crusher. This is a pirate dungeon. So maybe we've made some sort of deal with them. They're pirates. I don't know. Something like that. I'm not moving forward. I'm going to ninja pull something. I've been ninja pulling all day. There's so much trash in a lot of these dungeons. Okay, so what else has changed then? Because obviously that's the big one. The big one is we do have spammable powered shield back. Kind of interesting. I'm okay with it. I am. I thought I wouldn't be, but I am. I am absolutely fine with it. Oh, that didn't have a Purge the Wicked on it. Everything else still plays the same. It is a little simpler, but I've got to say, for the people who've played this, are you really surprised that they made... I mean, I'm surprised they left this as it was coming out of the Legion Alpha. Because when I played it, and you can check that videos on my channel, I was like, dudes, they are never letting this go live because people ain't going to get it. It needs, like, proper mouse over macros and stuff to work well. That's well out of the sphere of most people. They have given us some new talents. Now, because of this change, you can actually play a relatively effective non-atonement healing playstyle. Because you can actually do like straight up heals. It's not very interesting because the spec's not designed to do that, but you can do it. The next one you saw is that big shield that I fired off earlier, and it's the new spell Luminous Barrier. Luminous Barrier. Luminous Barrier replaces Power Word Barrier and works differently. Now, it's nowhere near as effective. It does about like 12. Rough math. It does about 2k. So it's about... oh, I can read it. Yeah. It does about 1.6k absorption. So it does about like 10 or 12% of someone's... of the party's HP. It does work in a raid, by the way. But what it does is it creates a shield on all allies within 40 yards, absorbing that damage on each of them for 10 seconds. So it instantly applies that shield to everybody. Very cool, because... if you've been in the pug world, which you guys know I have been recently, trying to get people to gather for something like Power Word Barrier is a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke. You end up barriering yourself and hoping people run into it in most cases. And I'm sure there's many disc priests out there who'll go, people just don't seem to even see this giant booby that I drop on the fucking floor. So instead, what they've done is they've said, okay, well, if power word barriers, and there are some encounters where barrier itself is just not that effective. You just can't get many people into it due to the nature of the encounter. Loads of reasons for that. So what they've done is change it. Now, these guys are going to chase this piggy, so I'm going to speed everybody up, because body and soul is still a thing. Got it? There you go. Body and soul is still a thing. Every time I shield someone, I'm giving them 40% movement speed. Let's hope that stays. Let's hope that stays. But there are loads of occasions where you just can't get people into your barrier, and it kind of feels like a wasted cooldown. So the kind of deal Blizzard struck said, okay, we get it. Sometimes it's not that good, and it's just a wasted big cooldown that you have. So what we'll do instead is we will give you this new system, which is Luminous Barrier. And Luminous Barrier will just hit everybody. Doesn't matter where they are. Tell me you see that, right? Good man. But it's nowhere near as effective. Because I think Power Barrier is like 20% or 25% damage reduction for the guys that are in it. Luminous Barrier is way less. Like, it's a small absorb shield. But I've got to say, like, in dungeons, and I can't do any really difficult dungeons right now, which is a bit of a bummer. In dungeons, that's so much better. It just knocks off, you know, like when bosses do knockbacks, some sort of incoming AoE. For the moment, anyway, it's nullifying that in at least one occasion. And I'm fine with that. You rebounder. And that's good. That's good enough. That's good enough. I think that's a reasonably fair trade. Hopefully it doesn't become useless, because it is like a flat damage reduction. And as you know in Mythic Plus, numbers can get real wonky real fast in there without your gear improving at all. In which case, its effectiveness might just go pew. Like, I know some people consider it not worth taking. For me, I think it's fine. The other choice I've got is to extend Atonement. I'm not struggling with that in 5-mans. And Grace, increase your non-atonement healing. In normal dungeons, it's not a big deal for me. That's not a big factor in what I'm doing. So, it's for me right now, it's fine. I think it's a nice fair trade. So, like, this guy's going to do Shark Storm, I think it's called. It's been a long time since I've done this dungeon. I believe it's called Sharknado. Oh, it might be Sharknado. When he does that, we'll pop the Luminous Barrier, and you'll see how it kind of hopefully nullifies the damage for the guys who don't move out of it. We'll always assume somebody won't, right? Is he going to do it? God, yeah, there you go, Sharknado. So let's put the shield up. No big deal, right? They have, again, nerfed the shit out of this. Like, I remember the first time this dungeon came out is not moving from those sharks that I just let hit me. I was kind of curious for science. You gotta be curious for science. How much damage it did. It was pretty much a one-shot. Shields on everybody. That means they've also got a shield and they've got Atonement. And you can heal them up effectively. So it is easier. There's no doubt about it. It is easier. But I'm fine with it. Let's pop Sharknado. Let's put out Radiance. Didn't need it. The guys moved out of the way. That's fine. And so far, it's made this kind of fun. Like, in pugs, it's kind of fun. I'm not... I don't feel, so far, and I've come up with some bad pugs in here. The standard on the alpha is better than what you get on live, for sure. It is overall better. But I haven't come against anything that I've like, oh, this sucks. If anything, I've been yearning for just more DPS options. That's what I've been hoping for, is like some more DPS options to go with this. Ugh. Because right now, Purge the Wicked and Penance and Smite, they kind of get boring because I don't feel like I'm managing anywhere near as much as I do. With like, I'm not doing any of the really cool stuff you do in Legion, like setting up a massive heal. I'm not having to bother with that. Now, nature of that, again, is in 5-mans, where you don't, you know, you still do that, but generally it's not hard to set up or anything like that. I'm just yearning for a little bit more. And I think Blizzard could look into adding, now we've taken away this, a key binding is lost, because Plea's gone and Power Word Shield remains. I would maybe like to look for some different DPS options. Give me some choices here. Some way to be a little bit more useful to my group than, you know, a mediocre DPSer. Mediocre DPSer and healer. Something else I could do would be really nice. And I think they could look into that and say maybe just something a little AoE-ish. Maybe something that doesn't even do damage, but I can apply it to individual mobs. Even something like maybe spellcast slowing. Maybe we could look back to things like Curse of Tongues. Can Disc Priest maybe handle that? I think there's all I'm trying to say is I think there's opportunity for Disc Priest to do more. But the obvious reply to that, and I'm sure many of you are thinking it already, is pretty sure that the reason they've kind of simplified it is not so they could just add more back in. And you're probably right. You're probably right. They probably want to keep it relatively simplistic, but if I think back to even WoD, like managing evangelism stacks and stuff, if you remember that far back, hopefully some of you do. Yeah, it was a little bit more interesting than this. It's not boring. It's not boring by any means, because you're still doing this DPS style of play, putting these purges out, spreading them with your penance, although if it's on cooldown, you can just fire them off anyway, got all these hots going. Something like a really weak Holy Chain Lightning, that would be kind of cool. I find myself sat here, right? I find myself sat here on a lot of occasions just thinking, wish I had something else to press, you know, especially when dealing with this, just managing some... But am I doing too much already? I'm very aware of that. It's like, am I already doing more than enough for the average player? And they're more than happy with that? Maybe. We still have mind control. We still have leaps. We still have all those kind of things. Mind control's been super useful in some of the dungeons, by the way. I know some of you will say it's always been super useful, but you'll be glad to know at least that it's super good. So is Blinding Light, but I'm not going to knock back these mobs. There are other things I could be doing, but they're a little bit more niche and not really relevant right now, which I'm fine with. Now, let's see if we're coming up to the last boss here. Here he is, Harlan Sweet. I wonder if they've nerfed the crap out of him. Harlan Sweet was a tough boss. Especially for a disorganized, you know, it only took a couple of bad players to really make Harlan Sweet a bit of a pain in the ass. So we'll see what's going on with this. He escalated rather quickly. Some people have been saying that basically the first level of the dungeon, although it says it's scaled to like 110, as you can see here, and it's supposed to be the normal mode, that in actuality you're testing the Mythic version, or the Mythic 0 version of the fight, so they can get an idea of that stuff, which is entirely possible. But we'll see. So basically, if the room doesn't essentially fill up with nightmares by the end of his HP bar, they've nerfed it very heavily. And if we... Alright, so that does like half health now. Okay. Again, we're sciencing some stuff here. See, the healing's not super amazing. It's alright, though. It appears to not hit the melee now, anyway. Like, previously that spell hit the melee. There we go, we got this. There's some shields on. Remember, shields don't actually heal, so... That's something. He's nearly dead, yeah. They have criminally nerfed this dungeon. That's fine. This must be what the normal version is. Is he dead? Is that it? Look at my initial freehold videos to get a comparison of this boss, just to get an idea of what this is supposed to look like. Anyways, there we go. We got some fine buckled shoes, boys. That's sweet 217 loot. Give me that. Come to daddy. The Disc Priest. Interesting changes. Love to see your thoughts on it, guys. Really would. Thank you so much for watching. Next TDP, we'll have a giveaway. Again, we'll get the giveaway started again now the project is over. I hope you've had a great Monday. Or a bank holiday Monday. It's Easter. Hope you've had a great Easter, whatever you're doing. I'll see you again as soon as humanly possible. All right, guys? Bye-bye.